What can I say? It's another Pook. Welcome, guys. Another episode, Book of Pook. 7 chapters. I'll skip the preface. Let's just get started. It goes with Romanticism and Obituary, Letting Yourself Fail, Aiming High, On Kino, What I've Learned, Approaching Women, and As You Think You Shall Become. I like this section and I like this episode because you're going to see that you can't just take it as wholesale. There is no 100% truth or utility in this kind of stuff. Again, enjoy the ride. I'll let you know what you're in for here, and I'll point out some things that you'll kind of see how people have kind of advanced along in the years. So this is something I didn't know. In this section, Romanticism and Obituary. Start with the quote. This hyped up romanticism can be traced back to Rousseau. If you guys don't know, he's an Enlightenment thinker. It's as much as you need to worry about. Disgusted with the bourgeois love, he saw it as an empty, emotional center of restrained, law-bound societies. He wanted to replace it with something more passionate. For, especially in the aristocracy, passionate people was set for truth, honor, and power. This is dangerous, said Rousseau. It must be replaced with something else, something that is just as absorbing. Therefore, love will now be the soul-saving experience. How did Rousseau get to this? Well, his childhood, as he describes, to fall on my knees before a masterful mistress, to obey her commands, and to have her beg for her forgiveness, have been to me the most delicate of pleasures. Thus, in love, he is entirely passive. Women must make the first move. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you on this one. This is absolutely ridiculous. And I would be very interested to find out if the Enlightenment, which gave us great things like the Industrial Revolution, is what also gave us simping. So, somebody else in the chat, I'm sure somebody in the comments will bring up being a Rousseau fan. They'll say this is kind of BS. Not that it matters. The point is here, just realize this idea of romantic love is a fairly new phenomenon. For most of human history, we didn't really have it. He goes on to the next part, telling a story between him and some guy he ran into at the park. Guy comes back to him, getting mad. It's like, hey, you insulted my girl when we were talking at the park. He goes, actually, I slept with her. Once you guys left, she told me to meet up with her later. And naturally, the guy gets pissed and he goes, your assault against me is not for my faults, but for your own. You have no morals. And he goes, that's not true. You were the immoral one, thinking yourself a sexual Pharisee. We are called to be human, not statues. And this is like a very flowery piece of language here, but it's something that really happened. So if you remember, there's a guy online, can't stand me. His name's Pat Stedman. You may know him from such wonderful hits as storming the Capitol in 2020, going to jail for that one. But he used to complain all the time about, like, you know, all those guys sleeping with our women. They're damaging, they're ruining women, and you guys are all immoral. And I'm sure you've heard tons of guys online saying, I would never, ever go after meaningless sex. Meanwhile, it's like, you're kind of not getting any. So that's why you're being all melancholy about it. But the point is, this isn't some traditional, timeless thing. This is one guy a couple hundred years ago on the birth of the Enlightenment thinking, hey, you know what's great? Not having to marry my father's business partner's daughter just to make the businesses go. I'm going to do it just for love. I'm going to let girls make the first move. Essentially, the first female empowerment came in as start of the Enlightenment. Kind of ridiculous. Doesn't really work. And usually, if you've been socially active for any length of time, you're going to have a situation where two friends, the one guy's got a huge crush on a girl, but he doesn't make a move. The other friend goes, does it, sleeps with the girl, and then it's like, oh, I called dibs on her. We were supposed to be friends. You betrayed me. And it's like, dude. And you got to live life. You can't just let life happen to you. Otherwise, I would say that friend that sleeps with the girl he's got a crush on probably did him a favor. He's teaching him either be bold or get over it. And they ended off with the old concept of arranged marriages. He's like, have you ever seen a traditional Jewish wedding? The man and women have never even talked to each other. They don't even know if they like each other, yet they are married and they stay married for life. Now, Pook, that's because they can't divorce. He goes, true, but by conventional romanticism, shouldn't the marriage eventually blow up? Yet, they're happy. The point is that romanticism has no value in creating a lasting marriage. Romance, like the rabbit at the dog track, is elusive, fake, and never attained reward, which for the benefit and amusement of our masters keeps us running and thinking in safe circles. Letting yourself fail. I love this section because it's so important. Starting it off here, when you fail, you have information sent back on things that can be worked on. Are you too scrawny? Do you not have fun dates? Is your personality the problem? Do you let yourself have fun? Are you scared of sex? What is it? The point is not to intend to fail. It is to let yourself fail. If you fail with a girl, it is an opportunity that you missed about yourself. So many guys are worried about failure that they refuse to make a move. There was actually a great article from The Last Psychiatrist, a blogger around like the 2010s. And he brings this up with a nice little reference where, so you always think, oh yeah, I could have had her if I wanted to. Or some guy threatens you and it's like, oh, I could have beat him up if I wanted to. And you make up these excuses because as long as you don't take action, you got like a Schrodinger's box situation here where it's, well, you might have, you might not have, but the question is unresolved. And here's the problem. You're in front of a girl. You're like, oh, I could have had her. It's not obvious to you, but it's obvious to everybody else that you basically can't. And then we talk about scarcity mentality, and that's kind of what we're getting at here. The idea is you're worried about one girl or one fight. If I get in that one fight, I'm going to be dead. It's like, no, you might get beat up, worst case scenario, but you'll live to fight another day. You'll get a couple bruises and your ego will hurt. Oh, if you don't work out with that girl, well, I guarantee you there's like 4 billion girls on the planet. You're going to find one more if you blow it with this one. The problem is by convincing yourself that by not making a move, you could have if you wanted to, all you're doing is kicking the can down the road when there's lessons you could learn. Because even if you're right and you could have these things, guaranteed there's something in there that you could have done better, some piece of yourself that you could learn that you didn't know about beforehand. And by avoiding these opportunities, you're essentially doing yourself a disservice. That's the best way people grow, is by doing things. So let yourself fail, like Pook says here. Don't try to fail, but allow it to happen if it happens. And hey, worst case scenario, if it gives you a good story, it's a great anecdote when you and your date have that eventual, what was the worst date you've ever been on question. You're like, actually, the one just before this was pretty bad. Let me tell you. Aim high. Reference to this one is about some fat guy thinking, I gotta wait till I lose weight. This girl's out of my league. Kind of shooting yourself down. And I think it's a iron rule of Tomasi where don't ever talk a girl out of sleeping with you. That's her job to figure out for herself. And it's kind of an example here. So, quoting, there is nothing wrong with going for high standards, but there is a catch. It is this catch, when not obeyed, that will keep you in that bubble of fantasy. In fact, Shakespeare even has a saying on it, which he says, and he gets on the part here, but here's the catch. Get to the catch. Here it is. The high standards you apply to your desires must be applied to yourself. Do you want a woman who's not overweight? Then eliminate your overweight. You want a woman who's intellectually brilliant? Then you got to hit the books, read the classics, think, and expand your mind. You want a woman who's athletic? Then you too must become athletic. So here's your choice. Settle for mediocrity or aim high. Former is simple, can occur right now, and only requires the selling of your dreams. The latter requires rigor, and the higher you aim, the more rigorous, but your dreams can come true. Great example for this one, by the way. I'll keep it short and sweet. It was one of the more common questions you'll get from random guys coming into the Married Red Pill. It's always, my wife gained like 50 pounds since the birth of our child, and I don't know how to make her lose weight. Been a big question. Everybody's been floating it around. Well, you threaten to leave her. It's like, yeah, you're going to leave your brand new newborn baby mama just over like because she didn't lose some weight immediately. And anyways, the point is that you've gotten to after like a year of guys banging heads into each other is be in shape. Be in shape yourself. Accept that there's a 1,000-foot tow rope behind you. She doesn't get that motivation you get. She is receptive, but receptive generally is going to mean a lag time. And then the more in shape you are, in order to keep you as a mate retention strategy, the more in shape your girl will going to be. So it seems like, yeah, they're just using this for setting yourself with standards for a date, single guys, but it also carries through for the rest of your life too. The standards you set for yourself turn into the expectations you set for those around you. And if somebody's not able to meet them, well, that's a whole different conversation. But generally speaking, somebody who's really good for you, somebody who's really valuable for you, somebody who really thinks that you are like a great benefit to their life will do what they have to do to keep you there. And in this case, they meet your expectations. There's a reason why you always see like feminist spinsters in their mid-30s who are single talking about, ain't no man telling me what to do. Well, chances are somebody had expectations, she couldn't meet them, and now she's just pissed. Let her wallow in it. On Kino. This is a big section. He actually goes through a lot. Like I said, I've been telling you through this whole series, it really behooves you to go read the book yourself. I'm only giving you like very brief synopsis here and taking out the key points for you. He makes a reference about why you want to break the touch barrier with somebody when you've met them, why you want to do it with confidence. The part I like here is where he says not to make it too structured or awkward. It's got to be natural. It's because you're generally curious. It's because you're generally confident. And here's the example he uses here, and I'll quote, "Have you ever seen a baby fall down? And do you notice how they never know whether to laugh it off or cry, so they look to their parents to see what their parents are doing? And if their parent frowns with concern, the baby starts crying. If the parent smiles, the baby starts laughing." And it's the same with women. When you're entering new territory with a woman by challenging her touch barriers between you and her, then you have to do it calmly, confidently, and that causes her to experience it as exciting. If you do it nervously, she'll experience it as something that isn't right and makes her uncomfortable. The one example he uses just before this is about speed. He goes, nervous guys tend to like rush things because they're using that speed to hide their nervousness. Meanwhile, if you're confident, as you're talking to a girl, you're going to wait until she actually says something funny before you maybe, pat her on the forearm, chuckle along with her joke, whatever. But it has to come across as more natural. And I would have to say the only way to do this is to understand that touching a girl is okay. You guys are having a good time together. Breaking that touch barrier is her way of knowing that you're showing interest in her. If she's already shown interest back, it'd almost be rude not to. But just got to make it natural. And again, I could give you a shopping list of ways to make it natural, but that kind of defeats the point. Just trust your judgment. Act like that toddler. Well, don't cry. He ends off this section with, Kino is to make sure you're not a sexual mannequin because sexual mannequins do not initiate Kino. They just stand there and smile. But after the touch, he thinks of you in flesh and blood terms rather than the abstract image way. In other words, in a physical way. In the woman verse, you can't separate the physical from the sexual. Anything physical you do with her, she interprets as sexual. Probably why girls fall in love with you during action dates, since they're using their bodies from dancing to skating and so on and so forth. Again, that's a good reason for it. We talk a lot about congruence in actions and speech. You can sit there and have a 4-hour conversation with a girl about everything and anything under the sun. You can come back thinking she's the greatest girl on earth, and she's like, I'm gonna friend zone that guy. But at the same time, you can have a 5-minute conversation, touch her by the small of the back, lead her through a crowd, and she could think of like, yeah, I'd go on another date with this guy. Again, congruence is important, and if you're interested in a girl romantically, then yeah, breaking that touch barrier is a big part of that, and doing it with confidence, calmness, and doing it with, I don't want to say the word, but like sexual energy is the best way to put it. You're actually going to send a very clear signal, a very clear, unambiguous signal. This is a date. I'm interested in you, and let's see where it goes. Or you can just sit there and smile like an idiot, and then she'll send you pictures of her dinner later, which is like classic friend zone stuff. Next up is what I've learned. And Pook has 6 things he goes over here. 1, go for the number, go for the date. Guys shouldn't flirt, women flirt. Job of guys is to ask for the number and to call for the date. This cuts through all the games. It's interesting too, because Alan Roger Curry, he's another pickup artist. He talks about it like direct game. And Carl, which I'm sure you've seen on the podcast on this channel fairly often, talks about how he kind of preferred that too. But from what they've both told me is you kind of have to get to that point after going through enough dates and doing enough flirting in your own, to the point where it's just like, all right, I get it. I know the signs I'm looking for and I'm past it. So like I said, that's good advice, but run through the motions first. 2 is don't talk about yourself. Focus on her interests. Only mention things about you if they're the same. Yes, I think about all parrots being evil too. Weird example, but whatever. So many women have said that he's a mystery. Is that good? Yes. This is because when I comment on myself, it's vague and general. Keep my mouth shut. Also, you come across as a good listener. A good listener is one of those sexy guy traits that you can have. I would say this is big. Talking about yourself is ridiculous and boring, and nobody cares. If you really, and this is more than just women, this is life. If you want to build an instant connection with somebody, if you want to have a riveting conversation, make it about them. That is the one topic that they know the most about, that they're the most interested in, and that they're willing to talk about at length. I'll tell you a bit of an embarrassing personal story I had with this. So in my book, I talk about a date I had brought on a diplomatic event when we were it was either Vancouver or Thailand. I can't remember. Anyways, showed her off. The crew thought she was really good. Make the ship look great. A couple of diplomats thought that's a wonderful thing. And I went back to my friends. I'm like, "God, it's the smartest girl I've ever met. We've talked for like hours in this date." You know, I didn't really go anywhere, but it was like very, very interesting. And then, second date, go on it with again. And I realize she's not that smart at all. She just never talked about herself. She just kept asking me questions and let me run my mouth. And in my mind, because it seemed like such an engaging, intelligent conversation, I put that onto her. I thought she was the smartest girl in the world. And in a way, she kind of was. That's the lesson that I took from him. Get somebody talking about themselves to you, and they will think you are the smartest person in the universe. Demand respect. She may not give you her company, she may not give affection, but she should always, and I mean always, give you respect. Women will not stay with guys they don't respect, and you wouldn't want to be with a woman that didn't respect you anyways. I feel the need to preface this here. Respect is not treating you nice. It's not never being mean to you. That's what a child thinks of when they think of respect. Again, respect is just human decency, and this is just about having standards for yourself. This is advanced since then into Glover and Manuel Smith territory. Consider the demanding respect enforcing boundaries. Just replace the terms. And if you want to learn more about that, I've got No More Mr. Nice Guy and When I Say No, I Feel Guilty in the Sidebar series. Come on and check those out as well. Number 4, don't be afraid to disagree. This runs contrary to speed seduction, which I guess I didn't really know much about that, but I'm sure somebody in the chat will. Do not seek disagreements, is what they say, and if possible, try to bypass somebody's like, yeah, don't be afraid to disagree. Women want guys with a mind of their own. And I'll say this, that small amount of conflict is a great way to have a conversation. Disagree on things. A good thing on this too, so Practical Female Psychology, another sidebar book from the series, talked about how this was good and bad. In the case of politics, they mentioned when you're talking to a girl that's too indoctrinated with feminism or too into politics, that these kind of disagreements really show you the kind of person they are, and they're just not worth your time. So yeah, a good thing about these disagreements is A, it creates a bit of tension in the scenario, which is good, and B, if you end up with one of those, what they call them is the political types, is that it's generally not worth your time to go any further with it, and just wish her well and go about your day. 5 is women are never the priority. Your life's more important. Women take a back seat to your passions and hobbies. Failure to do this makes you desperate. I mean, I can't argue with this one either. Never acquiesce and surrender your own self and who makes you you for a girl. It's just never going to work out. And you know, the worst part is even if you do it and you think you're going to do it and she'll appreciate it, it's just a covert contract. You're going to end up with the girl going, I can't believe he actually let me get away with that. I don't even like him anymore. And the last one, most importantly, he says, most importantly, be yourself. Yeah. Can't win them all. And he's not perfect, but whatever. He threw that one in there. God knows we spent 6 years showing how that's the stupidest thing to say. But hey, it's Pook. It's not Jesus. Charles Bukowski. Jordan Peterson. Neil Strauss. I like these guys. Add some salt to cover up the bitterness of middle-aged soccer moms and put in the oven for 45 minutes. Optionally, you can take from all this stuff what you want and leave the rest. Last section's approach in women. Start out with the quote, the earlier Pook saw the approach as the woman as the prize to be won. Later Pook saw himself as the prize. The early Pook saw his approach as the mission. Latter Pook saw the approach as an opportunity for fun. The earlier Pook tries to make things fun for the woman and fails. The latter Pook doesn't care and focuses on his feelings. In other words, he has to have fun himself. By letting their responses guide your actions, you're being shaped by your environment. In other words, being feminine. This isn't attractive in any situation or age. I will say, from my own experience and from the experience of every guy I've ever talked to on this one, you doing things you enjoy and bringing a girl around for the ride is good. They generally feed off of your emotions. It's called like a mirroring effect. If they're having fun when you're having fun, same as we talked before about how the baby will look up at the parents when he falls down, and if the parents freak out, the kid freaks out. Parents are happy, the kids are happy. If you kind of don't understand this, talk to a dog owner. They'll tell you. It's like, you can say anything to your dog. You can drop hard R N-bombs on them all day, and the only thing they're going to notice is your tone of voice and your body language and your demeanor. And they could be a happy dog, or they could be a sad dog. And it really all depends about what you're doing to have fun, and they will adopt that same mentality. And it goes the same for dates. I can't believe I kept talking about M-bombs. Anyways, as you think, you shall become. Last chapter here. The nice guy, drunk with his feelings. Player keeps thinking of control and power over the chick's feelings. Don Juan gives off feelings unconsciously. He's like a sexual light in the world that women flock to. Nice guy mythologizes the women, turns her into a goddess. Don Juan mythologizes himself. He turns into a demigod. That's the difference. Players, seducers, etc. are caught in between. They still don't understand the power of imagination. In fact, they blame imagination for them being a nice guy. Now they swear they're going to live only in reality. The point he's getting through on here is that there's 3 stages of mastery. Social savviness, sexuality, all that stuff. The first step is where you're clueless. That's the nice guy. He acts passive, he acts feminine, he acts basically in ways that don't act congruent with what he wants. He wants to date a girl, he wants to be romantically involved, maybe he wants a girlfriend, maybe he wants a wife, but you'd never know because he's sitting there and smiling like an idiot because he's too afraid to do anything. Second guy is the one who rebels against that, and he calls it the player. Trying too hard. Basically, in his mind, he's always thinking, what would a beta male do? Don't do that. Gotta be alpha. Gotta be alpha. And in that sense, it comes across as weird, creepy, and needy, and trying too hard at things, and never taking himself very lightly, and like he says here, no imagination. And he uses the Don Juan as the example. I would say that's kind of a nice place to be, like to the point where you have a conversation with somebody, and if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you're having fun, and you're going to ride this train to see where it goes. There's a certain aloofness and a cool confidence that comes with knowing, not assuming, but knowing that this could go well, or it could go not well, and you'll learn something from it and come out with a good story. And either way, you're perfectly content because you're very calm and assured in your own place in the universe, your own skill set, and if not this one, then maybe one tomorrow. So that's one more Pook. Hope you guys enjoyed yourself. I'll catch you next Sunday. And if you're watching this after the fact, don't forget the playlist. You can view all these ones here. I would strongly suggest going through the chapters on yourself because I am not doing it justice. I am giving the most bare bones description of what they're talking about in here. And hopefully you pull something away from it that helps you out in your life. Again, as much as you love those artistic manuals of guys that just love to hear rote memorization skills, touch here, say this, do this, it's nice to kind of think of this stuff with a little more of a creative lens, get the juices flowing, and who knows, maybe make you more fun at the dinner party. I'll catch you later. Cheers.